Wendy. I'm good to get going. I know there are people who have some time constraints, but we'll just make this the official start of our meeting. Welcome, everybody, to our first Friday of the month, Kansas City Coalition for Digital Inclusion meeting. Hope you all are getting through the rough and windy and wet start of spring, but that's just normal. As we do every month, just a reminder of the mission and vision for the coalition. And this is on our website, which is digitalinclusionkc.org. We are led in our efforts by the steering council consisting of Ina Montgomery from Urban Tech, Aaron Deacon from KC Digital Drive, and Carrie Coogan from the Kansas City Public Library. And we have a number of ways that you can connect with us on a regular basis. As you can see here, between X, our website, Facebook, and YouTube. And I also, before we dive into the agenda, I just wanted to remind you that every one of these meetings are recorded, and on the website that, as Wendy is showing, there is a tab for monthly meetings, and there is a link that has the recording of all of our past meetings. So just know if for some reason you can't attend, or if you want to go back and see or hear what was said in the meetings, those are available on the website. So I appreciate Wendy and the Kansas City Public Library for the hosting they do of our website and of these meetings on their Zoom. So real quick, before we get started, is there anyone among the current list of 28 participants who is on the call for the first time that would just like to say hello and just introduce themselves?
Good morning. Can
And
everyone
that
hear
is
me?
excluding our panelists, who I will be introducing here shortly. So if not, we'll make sure before the end of the meeting that if you are new and maybe you missed that part of my announcement, we'll make sure you have a chance to say hello and make sure everyone knows who you are.
Hi, Tom.
Like we do every month, we provide a agenda slot for the two representatives of our state broadband offices, Dimitri Farthing from the Missouri Office of Broadband Development and Kimberlyn Jones from the Kansas Office of Broadband Development. At this point, I don't know if either of them have joined the call. If they are, I would say now's the time for them to speak up. We just like to provide them with an opportunity to provide updates on what's happening at the state level. I don't see either of them on, so we will swing back to them should they jump on the call here later. One thing I do want to call out is on the Kansas side, there is a new director of the Office of Broadband Development, a guy named Bill Abston, who just started this week. So if you do want to learn more about him and his background and the commitments being made on the Kansas side, please go to the Department of Economic Development on the Kansas website and the Office of Broadband Development for more updates there. They are continuing their commitment to some of their state grant programs, which supports devices, public Wi-Fi spots, and training. So exciting news on the Kansas side. I think what I'm going to do is, as a lead-in to our panel discussion, I'm going to give you a little update from a DEPO-KC perspective. And Wendy, I actually am going to share my screen real quick because I just want to do my inbox and get on one of my tabs. There we go. Is that one or that one? Okay. Do you see the DEPO-KC logo and updates? Is that visible, Wendy?
Yes. Tom, can you hear us at all?
I can't hear you.
Okay.
It is? Okay.
You can't
So-
hear us.
All right, so here's a couple things I'd like to update you on from the work that I'm doing with the Digital Program Office. As many of you know, at the federal government level, since Inauguration Day, the main messaging has been kind of an anti-diversity, equity, and inclusion, and very much about the fraud and abuse that exists among government funding. They've backed those messages up with actions. As we all know, there's been crackdowns on immigration and increased deportations, and there have been real funding cuts. The Digital Equity Act, which is part of, excuse me. Hello. All right, I'm not hearing it. Okay. I'm not hearing anyone's comments. Okay, so that's what I'm being told. I don't know why that is. I don't hear anyone's comments, but I assume you're hearing me. So I'm going to stop sharing for a second and see if I can go back to find out what the heck's going on. I have my volume, I have my settings. I'm not muted. I don't know, Wendy. I can't hear anyone else. I can see everyone, but I can't hear anyone. Well, I see the update from Leslie about Kimberly's position, which I appreciate that. Okay. Well, and I see some introductions. My speaker volume is not muted. I just don't understand the setting, why I'm not hearing any of you.
Tom, are you able to hear me at all?
I just barely heard someone say something, but I don't know why that didn't come out.
You might need to turn
Oh,
your
I
volume
figured it
up.
out. Duh. Okay, I can hear everyone now.
Yay, okay.
You can hear us?
Yep,
Awesome.
I can. Sorry about that. Sorry. This being a technology.
I'm glad you
Mhm.
caught it and we were able to catch your attention.
No, there was just a setting that I had overlooked. All right, I'm
Wonderful.
going to really quick go back to my notes. I just wanted to share with you. Let's see. No, not that one. This one.
I think there are some introductions.
There were some
We did have
introductions I
a couple of
overlooked.
people
Yes.
speaking up that they were attending for the first time.
I do see those in the chat, and I want to swing back. I just realized with some of our speakers for the panel, there's some time constraints that I want to be aware of. So I want to get to that as quickly as possible. But thank you all for putting introductory comments into the chat. And I will circle back to have those of you who are on the call for the first time have a chance to say something as soon as we get through this panel discussion, if that's okay. I just want to set it up though really quickly and share just some of these thoughts. Okay, so I was talking about the federal government messaging and actions. Real cuts happening. I talked about the DEA. As you see in the chat, the note from Leslie Scott made it clear that cuts are affecting the state offices as well, as Kimberlyn Jones is not working for the KOBD anymore. And there's a continuing uncertainty whether the grants coming from the NTIA competitive grant fund or the state capacity grants are actually going to be dispersed. Similarly, there's a lot going on with something called the Universal Service Fund. That provides funding for subsidized internet for schools and libraries, and it also supports rural healthcare internet. And that has been challenged. It's in the Supreme Court. Constitutionality of that funding. Even if that court decision is favorable, Congress is still going to have to decide on the funding mechanism for the USF so that it's not done on an annual budget allocation, because schools and libraries regularly rely on that USF funding to provide the internet services that they require. The biggest one of the past week has been the cutting of the IMLS. That's the Institute for Museum and Library Sciences, provides annual grant funding for libraries. Already in the wake of the announcement of IMLS being taken down, libraries are already eliminating certain staff and programs, really, really damaging to the work that we do in digital inclusion. Now, on the local side, what's our response being? We have our own messages. The needs are not going to go away. We continue to provide services to individuals and families all over the city and the region, and they require technology resources. And so we're not going to get anywhere if we don't continue to focus on what's the impact and what are the outcomes associated when we do have funding and resources to support our technology needs. And in particular, we're fortunate that we have 3 actions that we've seen here in the last couple of months. Local philanthropic support is actually increasing. We're aware of Health Forward Foundation, who introduced a grant program back in December. But in addition, the Kauffman Foundation now has grant funding around collective impact, around specific projects, and around capacity building. And as we also learned just last month, T-Mobile Foundation has introduced a new digital equity grant program with application deadlines in July. The second thing we've done as an action, and we see it every month for the last 6 months, more people joining the coalition and being open to sharing what they're doing and collaborating with each other. And then the third thing is just by focusing more and more on real-time case studies about the positive impact that comes when we do have resources to support technology needs, everybody wins. And so that's the backdrop for what we're going to talk about today. There are 6 main categories that we've covered over the last 6 months, starting with libraries, talking about impact in education and healthcare, in civic and social engagement. Today, we're talking about workforce development, and next month, we're going to talk about delivery of essential services. So I'm thrilled to be able to help facilitate today's panel. And we have 4 organizations that are doing great work in the economic impact and workforce development area in Kansas City, starting with Scholas, the Bishop Sullivan Center, Great Jobs KC, and Operation Breakthrough. And I'm very proud to introduce our 4 panel participants. Cedric Deadmon from Scholas, Kayla McAbee from Bishop Sullivan, Brandey Chandler from Great Jobs KC, and Mary Esselman, someone that I know fairly well from Operation Breakthrough. And the topic that I'd like to get you all involved in discussing with us is going to be about the impact that having funding and having resources for technology allows you to do in terms of the services you provide and the impact that has on economic impact and workforce development. So I'm going to give you all each 2 or 3 minutes to introduce yourself, talk a little bit about the programming that you do, and start off by sharing a little bit about the positive impact you see from having resources available. So I'm going to go from the bottom of the list up, no bias intended, but Mary, if you want to start out and share a little bit about what's happening at OB.
Sure, love to do that. So 4 years ago, we opened up the Ignition Lab for teens, which has workforce development and entrepreneurship for across 10 different labs. So everything from computer tech, graphic design, digital media, product design, fabrication, and an engineering design studio through MindDrive. And I think what's been really powerful in terms of looking at the tech phase, whether we're refurbishing, we're recycling, or kids are just learning software that allows them to be more digitally literate, but also in the workspace, it allows them to be more fluid in their ability to use technology. And I'll give you a couple examples. In our computer tech lab, kids are actually earning certifications in Chromebook repair. They can do a level 1 and a level 2 through WISE, and then they can move on to do a level 1 and a level 2 in cell phone and tablet repair. So those are kind of skills that can not only lead them into future work, but also it's been great because on an entrepreneurial pathway, they're looking at opening up a tech repair shop. But where I think we really see what workforce has done in that area of technology and literacy is I watch our students who are in product design. So they're learning engineering design software, but then they're able to translate that over into much more easily into like graphic design, where they're learning Adobe Suite, or in fabrication where they're learning the software to use a CNC router, or whether they're in digital media and learning an editing software. There's just this fluidity you see in their ability to understand how technology and software works, and then use that in terms of creating not only what they're passionate about, but then future opportunities for work. Because our goal is to really look at three things, whether it's readiness for college, working towards tech school, or just jobs that are sustainable in the tech and STEM fields.
So really quick, Mary, just share with the group where and how you come about gaining the resources you need, like how to make sure that your internet's always good, and where and how are you getting the devices and the kind of skills training that makes those programs work.
So for devices, our devices we get refurbished from Electromundo. They also are a recycling partner. And then obviously not related to workforce, outside of just a lot of our students we're providing devices to, but we're also providing them to their families. So I think that's really been important. In terms of funding the program, there's not a lot of public dollars for it. So most of that, except for our day programming, which we do get some money from schools because kids are earning credits while they're there. We have about 700 kids who are flowing through the STEM program coming in from schools. And then we have an after school intern program. And those we primarily write grants for. One of the things that I think has been really important is our students that are there after school in the summer actually receive a wage. It's either a stipend or a wage while they're there learning. And then last year they did 300 client connected projects, whether they were with other nonprofits. So for those of you that do know of nonprofits that are needing some of those digital services, the kids are actually doing that through their screen printing or their graphic design, or even the 2D, 3D modeling. So I think it benefits the community, and then the community benefits it by the philanthropy.
That's great. I know in the introductory webinar that T-Mobile had about their grant, they actually referred to Operation Breakthrough as having been one of their grantees a year or two ago in support of some of the technology needs you have. So that's a good reminder to those of you on the call to please check out the T-Mobile Foundation website. So let me turn now to Brandey at Great Jobs KC. Brandey, if you want to do a quick intro and talk about some of the work that's going on at Great Jobs KC and the degree to which you're benefiting from resources in the technology space.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Brandey Chandler. I am the Director of Scholar Support for Great Jobs KC. For those of you who don't know what we do, I'll give you the quick and dirty rundown. We do college scholarships for high school juniors and adults, and we do short-term training and credentialing for adults who can complete their credential in 12 months or less. Some of the programs are a lot shorter, 4 to 6 weeks, but anything that is 12 months or less is something that we would be interested in supporting. We have already a list of 118 vetted programs that we support. In terms of technology services, what we've been able to do is create what we call the Loaner Laptop Program. And shout out to Electromundo again, because they are our partner. We do refurbish PCs and Chromebooks from a variety of sources, including buying them from Micro Center or Amazon, but the majority of them have come recently from Electromundo. We do, I should tell you that 350-ish Laptops have been loaned out. We've got about 100 back. Some of those programs are still going. Some of that is a shrinkage rate that we knew we were going to have. But we do offer that loaner laptop program for scholars and programs who need technology. We have essential skills workshops, which include some soft skills, and we have IT certifications that are available for people to study. A lesson learned there with that resource is that we have implemented some assessments and screenings to identify high chances of success. So a lot of people will see, ooh, IT, I can make how much money doing that? Yeah, that's what I want to do. But they may or may not have the foundational skills to go on and be successful in that program. So we've been doing a better job of identifying those with the skills to be successful. One of the challenges is that a good percentage of our students do not have the basic foundational skills to be successful in IT fields, or sometimes just navigating everyday life. Some of the challenges are access to Wi-Fi at home. Obviously, with ACP hotspots kind of going away, being harder to access, that is an issue. And then basic digital literacy skills. I think there's some opportunities for collaboration there to help with helping create our workshop content, just to manage the tools of the professional world, virtual meetings, email, downloading attachments and being able to find it when it downloads in the background and you don't see it on your screen, right? That's a troubleshooting skill that not everybody has. One of our other challenges is time for hand-holding, quote unquote, and practice. Having been on the front lines at the library, I can tell you that sometimes the library doesn't have time to hold your hand and explain to you how to, add Google Maps to your phone so you don't get lost, or whatever the technology issue is. Sometimes that time is limited. But we do have a lot of resources in terms of allowing folks to borrow that technology. And we do have the scholar advocates who have some time to be able to help show somebody how to get on a Zoom meeting, for example, if they've never done that before. So that's kind of where we are. Some of our partners are really good at creating those foundational skills, and you're going to hear from Cedric with Scholas in a moment. But we're always open to further opportunities to collaborate and make sure that our scholars are getting those digital skills they need.
That is great, Brandey. By the way, it's great to see you again. It's
You
been a
as well.
while since we exchanged some laptops together and things like that. But congratulations, by the way, on the recent news of your Kauffman Foundation grant. That was great to see that support. And again, a good messaging to all those on the call that the Kauffman Foundation has stepped up and is making a lot of gifts to needy nonprofits throughout the area. So let me turn now to Kayla at Bishop Sullivan, which, we really haven't worked that much within the context of the coalition, Kayla, with Bishop Sullivan. But I know I've spent some time over there with some residents, and I would love to hear from you. Just do a little intro and share with us some of the things that you all are doing that rely on tech resources.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. And I'm happy to support and share information about Bishop Sullivan Center. They're a wonderful agency. We are a multi-service agency, if you are unaware. So there's multiple services that we offer, including housing assistance, rent and utilities, food assistance with pantry, and our One City Cafe that serves lunch and dinner every weekday. And we have a summer program for installing AC window units into the homes of elderly and respiratory disabled individuals when their AC goes out in the summer. Yes, and then our employment assistance program, which is mostly where the digital equity comes into play. We do have a computer lab open to everyone who is looking for jobs so that they can come in if they don't have access to a computer at home. Also, they meet directly, work one-on-one with our employment coordinators. So that way they can apply for jobs and do everything they need to and have help with basic skills for using the computer. A lot of the people in our the clients in that program are older adults. And they were in the workforce for a really long time and had to, for whatever reason, are now having to look for another job or look for a new job. And it's a totally different world with the amount of technology that's required to understand and to operate in order to apply for jobs today. So they're, I know the employment coordinators are having to work with them to just teach basic soft skills. Like someone was mentioning that it does take a lot of time, honestly.
Have you had
And
some success with that program? Are you able to see examples of older adults maybe being able to get back into the workforce as a result of that support you're providing?
yes, definitely. And it's amazing. And it's great hearing the stories about different agencies that also helped or programs, especially that are easy to access. I think there's like the STAR program, which they bring people in for I forgetting the term, but for lots of different not construction. I think construction's one of them, but they have like construction and elevator repair, HVAC learning. So you go in and you can learn lots of different jobs that are hiring, all within the program. You experiment with all of them, learn about all of them, and then afterwards you can get hired into one of the positions.
Sure.
And so that one of our employment coordinators told me recently that an older adult recently just went through that program and got a new job and he had a long history of long background that other employers, if he was just sending out applications, might have been difficult to get past. So it's wonderful to hear that.
And tell us a little bit more about where and how you've been able to get support up to this point for those kinds of programs and the resources that you use that involve technology. Do you feel like that's something that you can share with us about where and typically how that takes place?
Yes, of course. So Bishop Sullivan Center is extremely blessed in that 80% or more of their funding comes from individual donors. So we're able to not have to rely on like federal funding or grants, which is really frees us up to use the funds that are coming in from individuals in our community. And it's wonderful to see that as well. And so, and then I know for computers recently, we were able to update recently from a computer grant. I don't remember which one it was, but that was a huge support as well.
Good. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. And even with all those donor funds, I know that you all want to spend them wisely. So the more you can get to know some of the people and organizations represented here throughout the coalition, hopefully those can give you good ways to be as efficient as possible in spending those dollars to get the things that you need. So thanks for sharing that, Kayla. Let me turn now to Cedric to give a little bit of an update on Scholas, and a relative newcomer here in Kansas City, but not to the world of digital inclusion. And Cedric, we've just been thrilled to see the progress that Scholas has made. If you wouldn't mind just giving everyone a quick introduction and share a little bit about how you guys are utilizing tech resources to make a difference in workforce.
Great. Thank you, Tom, for the introduction and for the invitation. My name is Cedric Deadmon. I'm the managing director for Scholas Kansas City. And for those of you who may not know who Scholas is, we were founded in 1995 in the South Bronx. And we started out as a computer repair program where individuals would bring their broken computers to be refurbished by volunteers who would help then redistribute those computers back out to the broader community. Since then, we've evolved over the last 30 years to become one of the leading IT training institutions in the United States with over 24 campuses across the country. The Kansas City campus is the newest campus in the Scholas network. We launched here in May of 2024. We'll be celebrating our 1-year anniversary here in just a short few weeks. Our mission has always been about advancing social and economic equity through free, rigorous training to teach careers and to connect skilled talent to leading businesses in the country. And at a time, Tom, when a lot of organizations and companies are shying away from the word equity, we've made the conscious decision at Scholas to triple down because we have a commitment to making certain that we serve the communities that need our resources the most. So throughout last year up until this point, we have ran 2 cohorts of learners who have been working towards earning their CompTIA A+ certification. From that first cohort that we ran in 2024, we've been able, through our job attainment model, to secure employment for 61% of those learners. And for our cohort 2 graduates that finished in December of 2024, we have been able to secure employment for 29% of those learners. Some of the challenges that we face are some of the challenges that I think all of us face that are in the workforce space, and that is, how do we find jobs? How do we connect with employers? How do we build the kind of ecosystem that allows for talent to be born and then for it to grow within the workforce development pipeline here in the Kansas City market? We are very fortunate to have great partners in this space. So shout out to Brandey and Takia at Great Jobs KC. I also see some folks on from Literacy KC and from Catholic Charities and Bishop Sullivan. So it's about building this really framework of partnering and collaboration across not only the community-based ecosystem in the city, but also building that ecosystem through really deep, intentional work with employers throughout the Kansas City region as well.
Cedric, that was a wonderful response. And I got to those of you on the call, Cedric and I did not pre-rehearse this because what you did is I was about to ask, my next question was going to be, given the nature of the current challenges in our federal government on down and the degree to which it is having some real impact on organizations. We have people from the IRS that lost their jobs. We have people from libraries that are being challenged to keep their staffing. The question I was going to ask, and you've already answered it for Scholas, is how are you addressing these challenges and how are you doubling down? I'd love to hear, Mary, from you or Kayla or Brandey about the specific nature of challenges that you're facing right now. I mean, even the language on our websites is being challenged. And I'm curious to know if any of you want to jump in, how are you and your organizations facing these challenges, not just with respect to resources you need to offer the programs, but more importantly, just your overall philosophical approach to dealing with them. I'll open it up to any of you if you want to jump in.
That's a tough one, Tom. I will tell you that for me personally, that I'm not speaking for Great Jobs KC right now. I have not yet moved out of my belligerent stance. I still feel like, which of diversity, equity, and inclusion do you have a problem with? So that is me personally. I'm not ready to play nice yet. But we are luckily in the position that a lot of our funding is directly from private sponsors. We don't have federal funding. That's not something that we have to worry about right now, though we do plan to apply for federal grants, of course. Our programs are for people in the 6-county Kansas City area who make less than $45,000 a year. And if you meet those qualifications, you can get into our program. And if you look at that population, we know who that is and we know who we're serving, and that is what it is. That's all for that.
No, I appreciate your candor. And that's one of the things I was trying to just hint at in my earlier introductory notes. The needs are persistent. The work that we're doing is not going away. even though in some cases, we have partner organizations that are really honestly, concretely feeling the impact of these cuts. So Kayla or Mary, I don't know if either of you want to chime in about any specific things or just messaging or approaches you're taking in the light of this kind of new wave of anti-diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Well, if anybody, any of you know Sister Berta, she didn't let anything get in her way, and we do not plan to let anything get in our way. So we are just pushing right on forward. So anyway, that our biggest worries right now have less to do with technology and they have more to do with people. So that's where our focus is.
Well, Mary, I want to touch on something that Cedric brought up, and he was just wonderful in calling out some of the other participants on this call that work in the coalition and the degree to which partnerships and working collaboratively with other nonprofits in the area really comes into play in helping to sustain the positive momentum of your programs. I know you've got some things that are always working at Operation Breakthrough in conjunction with other schools, other nonprofits. Are there any partnerships that you look to that help keeps the momentum of the Ignition Lab programs in particular at OB?
We have a lot of school partners and then nonprofit partners because it just makes sense for us not to try to reinvent the wheel, but just to draw on those that have made different areas their focus. One of the things that I'm not sure if everybody on the call knows is earlier this year, and I think that could be a long-term model for nonprofits who want to keep their identities as a nonprofit, but be able to bridge supports from others. Mind Drive's been a partner for ours for about 7 years, and we actually did a vertical integration with them in August, which means that we take care of all of the back office and administrative, but they still retain their tax ID so that all of the funds that we raise go directly to their program, but they no longer have to raise funds for a lot of duplicate kinds of positions that are really tough for nonprofits to have. And they're obviously a great partner in the tech space with everything that they're doing, not only with electric swaps on cars, but they're in the welding and space as well as drones and other things. So that's been a great partnership and a great way to demonstrate how nonprofits can collaborate more formally to maximize the efficiency and effectiveness of dollars and people.
That's great. How about you, Kayla? Do you guys have any particular partnership programs at Bishop Sullivan that help to extend the impact of the dollars that you spend?
Yes, we do. And for the kind of attack on, seemingly feels like an attack on DEI practices, I agree with Brandey and Mary. We're really just moving forward as the same way. We're going to keep doing what we've been doing and helping who we've been helping, and we're really not going to let anything get in our way. So yeah, I mean, people can have opinions on that or in terms, the government or whoever, but we're just going to keep doing what we know what to do. And then
go ahead.
Yeah. And then our partnerships, I know that our employment program partners with a lot of agencies in the area for trainings that clients need for whatever job positions they're applying for. KC Scholars, I know they work with them for trainings and such. And then I know Great Jobs KC, we always see flyers from them about job fairs and different really great resources that are huge in helping those clients. And then there's really so many in the area, and it's really wonderful to be able to work together, not try to, like Mary said, reinvent the wheel. We're all trying to do the same thing separately. When we join forces, it's much more collaborative and helpful to the clients. And some agencies are better at different things than others. So if we can work to each other's strengths, then it really, really helps us collaborate on assisting our community.
That's great. And I know just a couple weeks ago on a call with the Kansas City Digital Drive, we heard from Phoenix Families
Mhm.
that just got a collective impact grant from Kaufman, and they're making a big part through that grant program, and working in this case with Kansas City Digital Drive and many others. Literacy KC was mentioned, and it just shows the strength of that networking. I'm gonna take a little different tack right now while I still have you all here as part of the panel. Earlier, I was messing with my technology and I overlooked a new attendee, Tanya Williams from the city, and my good friend Jerry Buckman from the city of Kansas City, Missouri. So I think what I'm going to do is call on Jerry to give an intro to Tanya, and also in the same time, because of the amount of work and commitment that the city of Kansas City, Missouri has been making to digital equity and digital inclusion programs, give Jerry and Tanya a chance to start off any particular questions they have for you all on the panel about the nature of the work you're doing and the ways in which the city also has a lot of partnering resources available to work with you. So Jerry, let me hand over to you, and so we can have you introduce Tanya and see if you have any questions for our panel. Hello, hello. Jerry, are you there?
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Here he is.
I'm sorry. You got me started down a path there, Tom. Anyway, yes, good morning. I think it's good morning. Yeah, I'm Jerry Buckman. I am the Digital Equity Manager for Neighborhood Services with the City of Kansas City, Missouri, and I'd like to introduce Ms. Tanya Williams, who is our new in-house digital navigator, administrative assistant. And I'll let Tanya say a few things, but yeah, I did have a few follow-up comments. Go ahead, Tanya.
Good morning. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Tanya Williams. I go by Sherelle, and although I'm not new to the city, I am new to this role. So I've been in this particular role for about a good week now, and I'm super excited with working with Jerry, which I've worked with him before, but in a different role. But this is all very not so much new to me because I've done a lot of volunteer work with a lot of different organizations here in the Kansas City area. But to be actually in this role, working with Jerry and amongst all the other associations, I'm super excited and wanting to know more, very much more. And being in these type of meetings gives me a good outlook on what we can do for our communities and how we can assist in each and every way with individuals who are needing assistance.
That's
Thank
great,
you.
Tanya. Well, great to have you introduce yourself. And with respect to the work that our panelists do, I know the city has been involved in the short 2 years that Jerry's been doing this work, bringing together lots of different parties, one of whom that could not be with us on the panel today was Clyde McQueen from the Full Employment Council.
Oh, yeah.
I did speak with Mr. McQueen, and he said that even the FEC, which has heavy reliance on government funding, has been experiencing some severe pressure and cuts over the past few weeks. It's one of the reasons he was not able to join us today. But with respect to the
wow.
kinds of work that these organizations, Operation Breakthrough, Bishop Sullivan, Great Jobs KC, and Scholas are doing in the workforce development area, and there are many others throughout the community. Just knowing that we have this network of like-minded people like yourselves, Tanya and Jerry, and the work that's going on throughout the city is what's going to help us sustain our ability to keep serving these needs in spite of what's happening at the federal government level, and it's obviously affecting the state governments as well. So thanks for chiming in, and I want to just swing back now to Cedric Deadmon, because Cedric, the work going on at Scholas is landing real individuals in real job opportunities, and yet you continue to reach out to partner with other groups. I noticed that Literacy KC has an announcement in the chat that Mary Kay Morrow put in there about their annual Next Steps Career Fest that's happening a week from today. And I noticed that you said you were going to be there. Tell us more about the way that Scholas is actually landing people in jobs by virtue of these kind of integrative partnerships and participatory types of activities.
Yeah, that's a great question, Tom. And, I have to draw back on some prior experiences. I used to be a job developer many years ago in another lifetime. And, the same thing that rang true back in the early to mid 90s still rings true today. And that is that it's hard. It's really hard to develop opportunities for people in the labor market. The labor market it's very much a free market where everyone can go out and they can choose the jobs that they want to apply for, and they hope that they get an opportunity to sit for an interview and to potentially get hired amongst however many applicants there are for a particular position. We take a very much systemic, intentional approach to job development. Just on yesterday, we launched what's called Operation Jobs 2.0. It is where we will be very intentional in looking at what are the skills that employers are saying that they need in the tech sector, and then let's offer the training that gets individuals those skills. So currently, right now, we are training for IT support. Beginning in August of this year, we'll be adding a data center component to that training because we know strategically what's getting ready to happen here in the Kansas City area. We have Meta coming, we have Google coming, plus 5 other data centers that are coming as well. We already have a plethora of data centers that are right here in the Kansas City metro. We need to get our citizens connected to those job opportunities. We don't have to import talent from anywhere else in the country. We can build talent and a talent pipeline right here in our own backyard so that it can benefit the economic base, the GDP base of the Kansas City region as a whole. That's where we start with economic development. That's how we embed and weave workforce development into that, with the end result being jobs attained for our community.
That is really tremendous. And it's the kind of just practical, concrete, hands-on, results-oriented type of activities that really showcase when there are resources available to support people in the technology domain. And this is one of the reasons I wanted to have Clyde McQueen in the FEC on here as well. There are real tech jobs that go unfilled every day, every month, all year, and you are really showcasing our commitment to not take those persistent job openings lightly. We really do have a responsibility to make sure our local and regional population gets equipped to take on those jobs.
I want to chime in and add on to what Cedric just said about those jobs. We hear about those jobs being open, right? There's these jobs that are hard to fill. What Scholas does that is different, and what I think is part of their success, is they are taking the time with each of the scholars to talk about not just the technical skills, but they are helping prepare them for that workplace, knowing what to expect, knowing how to behave, quote unquote, just to make sure that the technical skill isn't the only thing that employers are hiring for. They may say that's what they're hiring for. They may believe that's what they're hiring for, but they're also hiring for other skills and other characteristics that Scholas is helping them learn how to demonstrate. So I want to highlight that so that we don't think that the digital thing is the only thing.
No, I appreciate that. Those soft skills, as well as the coaching and mentoring that comes with the not just the ability to get a job, but keep a job and thrive in a job, are just as important as the technical resources needed to get them trained. I'm going to also divert over to one of our longtime coalition participants, Ron Green, who's been working in the digital media space, and that is lined directly up with the with the wide number of job openings for which we don't have enough skilled people. Ron, I didn't know if maybe this would be a good time for you to give us a quick update on what's happening in the world of digital media and the extent to which your work is mirroring some of what we're hearing from Scholas and Great Jobs KC and Operation Breakthrough and Bishop Sullivan.
Sure. Thank you for that opportunity, Tom. One of the best kept secrets about Kansas City workforce is that digital media jobs are one of the greatest opportunities out there in the digital skills sector. There are 33,000 people who are hired in digital media positions in the Kansas City metro area. And one interesting fact about that is 47% of them do not work for a digital media company like a Hallmark, VML, or a Barkley. It's churches, hospitals, dentist office, anybody who needs a web developer or a social media content developer. There are many, many jobs available. What we're doing right now, in the past, most of our work has been about career awareness, especially in the K through 12 sector. But now we're working with the Department of Labor to establish a registered apprenticeship program for 6 skill areas in digital media. And in fact, we're meeting with employers on Tuesday on both the Missouri side and Kansas side, and working with Workforce Partnership in Kansas and FEC on the Missouri side. There are some great incentives to put those programs in place. What's most interesting to me about this discussion is we need feeder programs to get the right candidates in those jobs. And many of the people on this, I have a list of potential feeder programs that include programs like Ignition Lab and MOCAN, Goodwill, Scholas, and many others. And what we would do is take where those people have developed some interest and skills and an interest in a career and get right to specifics with very specific skills that the Department of Labor requires and the employer requires, and get them into real positions. One thing I would add before closing is that we have been, because we're working with the Department of Labor, we have had to change language in some of our promotional materials that kind of moved in the DEI direction. We don't like to do that. If we want the money, we have to do that. But there are ways to get around those inhibitors. So we are going to focus on feeder programs that are working with the right audience who will provide digital equity and inclusion in the candidates we put in those registered apprenticeship programs.
That's really strong. Thanks, Ron. As I mentioned, and to those of you who may not know, Ron's been a participant in our work in digital inclusion since the very beginning, and just having those direct links to real concrete jobs for which the lack of skilled applicants is just really great. I want to take another quick diversion into a space we haven't talked about yet, but where there's talk about a persistent need, and that's the healthcare space. And a lot of I also have a tendency to put people on the spot, and John Fitzpatrick from KC Digital Drive, I'm looking at you at this point because and I saw Kenneth Yancey may have been on the call earlier, but I don't see him now. But there's this job category that has been opened up in the last couple of years called digital navigators, and that's a job category that's now under threat with a lot of the funding cuts. But the need to have digital navigators is not going to go away. It's been more exposed than ever. In the healthcare space, I'm thinking about a term that's been around for some time now, and that is community health workers. And I'm wondering, John Fitzpatrick, if you have any comments or updates to share with the group on the degree to which technology training in some of these fields we're hearing about has a direct application to the needs that you're seeing in the healthcare space as well. So, John, if you don't mind me putting you on the spot, I just love to hear from you about this train of thought in the healthcare arena.
Thanks, Tom. I appreciate the chance just to identify a couple of things. KC Digital Drive had received some Health Forward funding several years ago, and we worked with Tony Lapino from UMKC and some people from the University of Missouri, or excuse me, from the Missouri State Extension and so on, to put together a digital literacy program specifically for community health workers. The perception at the time was that they didn't have themselves enough digital skills to start doing the things that they really needed to do on the job, which is make referrals electronically to other agencies, to document their work, follow up on a plan of care and document that. Those kinds of interactions with technology were becoming just par for the course for what we call CHWs. And so we've since extended that and have started to work with CHWs to be able to help their own clients traverse that divide. And so instead of just digital navigators, we're starting to call the CHWs digital health navigators, because they have the opportunity, and this is something that I've backed literally for decades, and that is the idea of being able really to get to where people actually are, primarily in the home, but it may also be a community center or some other gathering place in the neighborhood, a church or whatever. But effectively to be roving directly in the community, connecting with people, being in the home, and helping them do things like set up a telehealth visit, get connected to their patient portal, possibly pair, because a lot of the remote monitoring equipment is Bluetooth, making sure that it's properly paired and all those kinds of things. So yes, you are correct. That I hate to use a Marshall analogy here, but the sharp point of the sword is really those people who can connect directly face to face with people where they are. And community health workers are outstanding in that. Now, one last thing to say, community health workers are relatively new on the scene. They've been in Kansas City since about, I think it's about 2012. But within that context, they were always supported by grants. And as we know, there's a lot of challenge in that field right now. But fortunately, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services at the federal level has started to create codes for billing such that the work of CHWs can be reimbursed. So now the big effort is to work with those who would contract, like a hospital system or a community-based organization who would contract with CHWs and assign them work that is billable to the insurance companies and the federal plans. And so that's the big effort right now, is to make this great initiative sustainable.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing that, John. And what I'd like to do in light of this other information we've been talking about in the last few minutes, I'm going to swing back to our panelists, Brandey and Cedric and Kayla. I think Mary had to drop off at OB, but to see if the three of you have any kind of closing comments that you'd like to make in light of this discussion about the need for both financial and technology resources to support the work that you're doing, but also to kind of tee up if anyone else on the call has specific questions for you before we end this particular panel discussion, because I think if they hear from you directly about different things in your closing comments, it might spark a few questions. So Cedric, I'll turn back to you, and then Brandey, and then Kayla, in that order, just for some closing comments on the panel discussion.
Yeah, thanks again, Tom, and thank you once again for the invitation. You know, this is hard work that we all do. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And it's going to take all of us working together in partnership with each other in order to make the kind of difference that we need to make in the lives of the people who we call our neighbors and our friends and our church members. And you know, I'm really proud of a lot of the collective impact work that's happening right now. You know, KC Tech Council was one of those early grant recipients from Kauffman And we have signed on as a champion of that work. We don't always have to be getting something in order to give something. And so we want to make certain that we are standing up good work from trusted partners in the community that are striving to make the differences in the lives of the people that we care about. And we should be caring about everybody in our community, because if our neighbor rises up, we rise up. And so I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity to be here in the Kansas City market. Scholas as an organization has done this all over the country for 30 years now, and we're just getting started. We're just getting our feet wet, and so we're proud to be members of the coalition as well. And we look forward to many more years of solid engagement and solid partnerships with everyone on this call today. So thank you again.
That's great. Thanks so much, Cedric. And that's an encouraging note to hear from you. And let me turn now to Brandey for a few closing comments from Great Jobs.
Sure. And again, thank you for including us in this conversation. I think closing statement, I suppose, for me right in this moment is that I am super thrilled to be reminded of all the excellent work that is going on. Just seeing the Digital Drive logo and hearing the LAMP comment reminded me, oh, yes, we have that LAMP center. And I think that one thing that is important for me to remember, and I can use all of your help in helping us all to remember, is that we may know about these programs, but we have to get it out to the people that can use it, and we have to do it constantly. So that is a good reminder for me. I am happy to collaborate with anyone who has those resources, and anyone that we can be a resource to, just to make sure that we're getting all the information out. So thanks again for having me.
Tremendous. Thanks, Brandey. And Kayla, any closing comments from you on Bishop Sullivan?
Yes, and thank you also for inviting us on to be on this call. It really is just so important. I agree with Cedric and Brandey that it's so important for us to get together and share resources with each other. I think so often it can be like you have to know someone who knows someone to know what's coming out, or what grants are available. And it can be, when everyone's going for the same resources, it can be kind of like a feeling like maybe I should keep this to myself, so that our agency can use the resource. But really, it works so much better if we're collaborating with each other. So that's why I think it's so important to have coalitions like this, and for every aspect of an agency that we can get together and share resources. It really is so much better for our clients and the community if we're all working together. So thanks so much for facilitating this meeting so that we can spend time doing that and talking about, what resources are here and how we can move forward together.
Terrific. Well, thanks, Kayla. And I hope the three of you, if you can stay on for a few more minutes in case, people's mind get jogged and they want to shoot a question to you. But in the meantime, I like to go through and make sure I'm calling on some folks that earlier when I was having sound issues, I didn't get a chance to have them introduce themselves. I noticed a couple of names that maybe aren't on for the first time, but just haven't had too much chance to talk. I see John James on the call, and if that's really John James, I would love, John, for you to say hello. And it's been a while since we worked together, but I'd love to hear from you and see if you have any questions or comments or updates for this group about the work you're doing and the interest you have in some of this technology support work.
I don't have any questions. Everybody covered it pretty well.
There he is. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Tom. We have to get back together and hang out as long as you're buying.
You got it. No, what are you up to these days? I know, are you still working with city IT, and also with respect to your neighborhood association? That's mainly why I wanted to call on you, because you got a lot of residents that are in a position to share and be involved in and participate in some of these programs. I just didn't know what your experience is at the local level with respect to knowing that we've got all these resources around.
Yeah, and I'm still working with the Wendell Phillips neighborhood. Um, we're we're involved, of course, in we did a class not too long ago on digital inclusion, where we did a 6-week class. I think it was 6 or 8 weeks, where we were able to teach telehealth training and things like that, for our neighbors. And it was very enlightening because people were able to learn how to use their cell phones, learn how to get their messages, learn how to do telehealth online, and just the simple things that people on this call do all the time. But it was great that we could bring it all the way down to the boots on the ground. Um, I'm also working with my church to bring a digital center, because it doesn't, we don't seem to have one. We only have the YMCA where my church is, over near Central High School on 3023 Monroe. So we want to bring something to that area where people will have access to computers. So those are some of the things that I'm working on. And of course, to pay the bills. I'm still associated with the great city of Kansas City as an IT person. Thank you.
Well, thanks, John. And of course, now we got Cheryl working with Jerry at the city, and the work you do with Wendell Phillips in particular is what I really want to make sure the participants on this call are aware of, because at the end of the day, the definition of success for the work we do in digital inclusion is to make sure all residents everywhere in every pocket of the city, they're not only aware of these resources, but you're actually able to mobilize things like digital literacy classes. I noticed Leslie Scott has a comment in the chat. You guys work with KC Digital Drive. You've done some things up at the LAMP campus. I know when you and I worked together, it was up at the LAMP campus working with neighborhoods on security cameras and other things like that. So, we none of us can take for granted the importance of the grassroots neighborhoods coming together and making sure residents are aware of and take advantage of resources. I see Denise Hart on the call, also from the Holmes Garden neighborhood. That's down in South Kansas City. Denise, I haven't had a chance for you to say hello, but I know that you face challenges when it comes to lack of resources, and when you get them, the wonderful impact that they have. I didn't know if Denise, if you're still with us, if you want to make a quick comment about things that are going on in the Holmes Garden Neighborhood Association. And once again, that's me putting somebody on the spot, which I apologize for, but I couldn't help it because, I like having our panelists in particular see the breadth of individuals and organizations that regularly work with us here on the coalition. So Denise, I'll give you one more chance, Miss D down at Holmes Garden. If you're on and your tech is cooperating, I'd love to hear from you. Okay, if that's okay, I'll circle back to you. Another participant, Merv Bueller with Women's Employment Network. Merv, I know you put some announcement in the chat about your job fair coming up in May. Would you like to just say hello and make sure everyone on the call knows a little bit about the work you're doing with the WEN?
Yes, hello everyone. So at Women's Employment Network, we have women to find employment and gain financial independence. We have both in-person and remote programs, and our programs are for all women over 18 years old, so there's no cost and they can sign themselves up for our program, so there's no prior assessment or anything. And our job fair is on May 22nd between 1 to 4 p.m. at Sheraton Crown Center. We had last job fair in October, we had 60 employers with over 200 attendees. So we're expecting at least 50 employers this time as well. So, and anyone wants PDF of the flyer for job seekers, they can just email me.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thanks for that update. And I do want to reach out. I see Anna Stewart from Della Lamb is on the call, and my goodness, our hearts are going out to the agencies that are dealing with immigration resources, deportations, and things like that. Anna, I don't know if you're on the call and able to jump in. I'd just love to hear from you and see if you have an update on how Della Lamb is getting by. And I know you're facing a lot of challenges, but just know you've got a lot of supportive partner resources in the community, and we'd love to hear from you if there's anything we can do to help make life easier for the work that you do at Della Lamb.
Yes, sir. Thank you. It's good to see you again. Can everybody hear me? I don't know if I'm unmuted. Okay. Yeah. We did have a lot of destabilization. About 20 employees were laid off or furloughed. We got a few back. Reception and placement was cut off. And in face of not having the funds to support our new arrivals, we still at Della Lamb, we felt it was our moral obligation to continue to provide those services along the way. But right now, yeah, we're trying to find other resources so that we don't have to rely so heavily on federal funding. It's so volatile. And I don't know, it's just we've gone through a lot and trying to connect to as many partners and resources as possible to help support our clients.
That's great. Well, I again, I know it's as you heard from Brandey and others earlier, sometimes you just have to just dig in and know that, you know, you're doing the right things for the right people, and no matter what anybody else says, that's just the way it's going to have to be. And yet, hopefully, just being surrounded by supportive partner resources, it just makes it a little bit easier to get through and deal with some of those challenges. So, the last person I want to call on or put them on the spot before I open it up to just any other announcements would be Leslie Scott from KC Digital Drive. And Leslie, I know a lot's been happening with KC Digital Drive on a lot of different fronts. I didn't know if you had any particular updates on the latest and greatest that's coming up, or particularly anything that has to do with some of the workforce development issues we've talked about so far today.
Yeah, sure. First and foremost, I don't know if anybody really knew where our office was, but we have moved. So we are in a new space, 710 Central. We have the Lamp campus still, but our other office that was at 10th and Wyandotte, they moved the whole shoot match over there. So we have a new space. I think that it will be a place where other organizations working in this space may end up as well. So it could very well end up being a bit of a hub for this work. Not a ton of updates, I would say. We continue to develop our digital life exchange, and are working on just what that looks like, given that we've not yet received recommendation for award from the nationally competitive grant program. As we've talked about through this entire meeting, there is a lot of uncertainty there, to say the least. But, it's really the way that we as an organization have operated since the beginning of time. So the Digital Life Exchange is not a new concept. It's just a moniker that we've been able to develop, forced by writing a federal grant. So there's that. And then, of course, you mentioned the collective impact project with Phoenix Family, and we're just really thrilled to be involved with that. I think those are the primary things. I don't know, Leah,
Very
did
good.
I miss anything?
Leah, I saw your comment. Looks like a cool new space. We'll hopefully be able to check that out soon. And I know I haven't called on everybody on the attendee list, but I wanted to make sure, Leslie, that I heard from you guys in KC Digital Drive. So much going on there. Tony Lupino, you're on the call. I haven't had a chance to call on you for any updates with things that are happening within the UMKC sphere, but between you and I think Joe Robertson at Link, I think you're a couple of the people that I know I just haven't had a chance to get to yet. So I didn't know, Tony, if you had any of the latest and greatest that you could share with us on what's happening within the UMKC arena.
Yeah, I mean, well, first an observation I wanted to, I really enjoyed the session today. And one of the reasons is that several of us here a couple of years ago did a series of workshops at different community locations, trying to raise awareness of resources to get to affordable service plans and devices and training. But from that whole thing, the one biggest lesson I learned was a community member at the Bluford Library said, "This is great, but you're not doing a good enough job explaining the so what of all this." It was the most powerful thing. And what do you mean? Well, you're just sort of assuming everybody knows what the benefits are of spending your time or limited resources you have to try to get in touch with the organizations providing this. So when we hear those who are training people for jobs where there are real opportunities, as Ron pointed out, that's a clear picture to get out there. Same thing with the healthcare resources. So I applaud that. And so this was great. But one of the things we're trying to do is connect affordable housing initiatives with affordable internet service. So start pressing people whenever you're making a plan for affordable housing, what are you doing about affordable access to internet and other services, but particularly internet. So that's one of the things we've been spending some time on.
Terrific, terrific. Well, I know that the campus and you personally and there's just a wealth of resources in this space. And I appreciate you being such a regular participant and make sure that everyone on the call always knows that there's just multiple opportunities to certainly to get in touch with you and connect with a lot of resources, including students, graduate students, other professors that have a lot of valuable insights and can really bring things home in
Just
a way.
one note, I'll put it in the chat again, but UM system-wide, the broadband initiative and the Mo broadband website has a ton of resources in it, including free tools to do data maps and things. So I'll just put it in there one more time.
That's great idea. Thank you. Well, so there's only about 10 minutes left. I want to open it up to anyone else who just wants the floor or wants to share any announcements or updates. Otherwise, you'll get a little bit of time back on your schedule. Any updates or announcements from anyone?
Hey, Tom, you mentioned your link and
Hey,
Joe here.
Joe.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
there he is.
I would hop in, because I've been enjoying all this information today. And one thing at Link, is we digital equity is just part of a lot of things that we are really interested in. And I just wanted people to know that one thing that we are doing now at all our caring community sites, we got like 50 of them, predominantly anchored around schools, but we are really trying to reemphasize things that we've had in the past called site councils, and we try to involve not just the people around the school, but the community around it and and all the people that are invested in these different communities. And so I might kind of keep in mind that some way we can really kind of get some of the folks in this call involved in some of our site councils, and particularly if there's some of the schools and neighborhoods that you're particularly interested in, because we're really trying to build a community coalition and really to empower each unique community to their unique needs. So yeah, thank you everyone for being here.
I think that's really relevant again to those of the participants that focus on neighborhood associations in their local areas, because they oftentimes are linking to their local schools, and I think Link has always been a great resource for that. So those site councils sounds like a valuable resource. So if you have information that we could help share, please send me a note, or Wendy Pearson with Kansas City Public Library, and we'll make sure we get that up on the coalition website.
Yeah, and all I'll do is there actually right now there's a on our website we have a piece about the site councils that we're trying to start. So I'm gonna
Very
see if I can
good.
get that in the chat here.
Yeah, get that in the chat and,
Yeah.
and we'll make sure that we publish it in the newsletter and keep it on the coalition website.
All right, thanks.
All right, well, anyone else? I don't have anything else on the agenda to cover, but I do appreciate you all being here today. Our meeting next month is going to be on, remind me of the date, Wendy?
Topic is delivery of essential services, and the date is, golly, it's May already next month, May
Yeah.
2nd.
May 2nd will be the first Friday. Okay. Well, and then of course the day after that is Kentucky Derby Day. So anyone that would like to wear a special hat to next month's coalition meeting, I would totally support that. Not only because I like, fancy hats, but because I was born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky. So there you go, the site of the Kentucky Derby. All right. Well, anyway, thank you to our panelists. Thank you to all of our attendees. We had a great meeting today, and I'm just looking to see there's a couple of other things that got dropped in the chat. So please, before you drop off this meeting, I see there's announcements sprinkled throughout here. Mary Kay Morrow, as I mentioned, provided an update on a literacy KC event. Take advantage of those links. Brandey put a link in from Great Jobs KC. So don't be too quick to jump off the call, but without going through the chat to make sure you pick up on all those links.
And
But
I'll
otherwise,
capture all of
Wendy,
those. Yeah, capture all of those and get them into our newsletter. Next week we'll send
sorry, I can't hear you, Wendy.
Oh,
There you go.
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and I'll be capturing all of these links in case you miss anything. Don't sweat it. I'll put them all in the newsletter that'll go out early next week.
Very good. All right. Well, with that being said, you got 6 or 7 minutes back. Everyone, hope you have a great rest of your Friday, great weekend, and we'll see you next month. Take care.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.